Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 261 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Monday, November 7th, 2022. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. Almost not, though, James. Almost.
Jeez, oh man. I tell you what, though, that was a nice, clean read to put an end to the regular season, or to the NASCAR season, I should say.
I am nothing if not a professional, James.
Right, and of course I fumbled my way through it, so here we are.
There you are. We are 26 minutes into trying to get this show started thanks to technical issues, but James sounds good. There may be a delay between us, so if you hear us talking over each other more than normal, you probably won't notice because we do it all the time anyway, but that's why.
Yeah. I am just going to be patient tonight, so that goes outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah, there's no such thing as patience on your end. You're about as patient as Ross Chastain on a restart behind Chase Elliott.
Oh, I see where we're going here. Okay.
There you go. It is championship week. We crowned 3 champions this weekend in the NASCAR Cup Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and for the final time in the Camping World Truck Series. We don't have to make picks this week, James. We're just moving into the off season, so we're gonna get together here and chat a little bit about what happened over the weekend at Phoenix, and then leave you guys for a couple weeks while we take a break and do something other than podcasting for a little bit.
Right.
So let's start things off with the big one. Last night, Joey Logano won his second NASCAR Cup Series champion. James has in the notes he enters the Hall of Multi-Champions. He also becomes the first, according to NBC, the first multi-champion Ford driver since, what did they say, like
since the 60s.
It's a long time. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you got to remember Dale Jarrett and Alan Kawicki, and I'm trying to think of other Ford championship drivers, but Kevin Harvick,
Kurt Busch.
That was Kevin Harvick was a Chevy, so
yeah.
Matt Kenseth was a Ford.
I mean, I guess when you consider that 7 championships were Jimmy Johnson alone.
Yeah, well, and then you've got Tony Stewart with 3, Jeff Gordon with 4. Like that takes up a lot of space,
and even
between
even
those years.
Earnhardt, had 7 in there.
Oh yeah,
not
exactly.
Ford, so
exactly, yep.
Yeah, so Joey Logano gets it done. I don't know what you thought of this race, James, but there was no point in this race at all that I thought, yeah, somebody's gonna beat him.
Yeah, there was only one moment for me, and that was when Bell got there with about 80 laps to go or so, right around that point in the race.
Yeah, Bell
was making some moves, and then they had to pit, and that all fell apart for Bell, and he just wasn't able to recover from there. And other than that, it was Joey from start to finish. No challengers.
I mean, even before the start, getting the pole to start the race as well. I mean, what better way to start a championship race than on the pole?
Yeah, and we put in the notes, Logano the killer, because he swaggered into this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you saw any interviews with him, I mean, they came to crush everyone, and that is exactly what they did. This is one of the more dominating performances in the championship race I think we've seen. There was hardly any doubt at all.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about it a little bit, I think even a couple weeks ago when he got that win, that giving Joey Logano a win at the first race of the round was bad for the competition, because they're going to focus everything they can on that one race, and that's what they did.
Yes.
And it showed, man. I mean, like I said, there were people that got close, and sure, late race restart could have done something. I mean, if we had a green-white checker at the end, anything can happen in 2 laps, but unless somebody was going to get to his bumper, and I'll tell you what, you weren't even going to race him down, because Chastain was coming at the end, and he wouldn't have gotten by Blaney. Blaney would have been as wide as that racetrack is.
Yes, yeah, and Ryan Blaney could have probably raced Joe. I mean,
yes.
Well, there's no probably about it. Blaney pulled the Kyle Larson from a couple years ago and just kind of rode
100%.
But yeah, he was the fastest at the end of this race, but he did the team duty. I guess, Eric, we're waiting for our fines to come in.
Right.
I don't think Ryan Blaney was racing at 100%, right? But anyway.
I was going to say, ironic that I said 100% regarding him not racing 100%.
You're right. Right. But yeah, this was, I think you and I had talked about this even last week, Eric, and this is why I went with Joey Logano as my championship pick. And I think you wanted him as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
because
my thing was I really wanted to see Chastain do it, but yeah, Joey was kind of the favorite to me.
Yeah, I think we just kind of had a feeling going in that he was going to be strong, that team was going to be strong. Paul Wolf was going to make the right calls during the race and learn from failures in the past, and that team was just tight all the way through, all race long.
Yep.
And had that first pit stop like you mentioned, and they were able to get off pit road nice and easy. And it was just that might be the template for championship drivers coming in for years to come. You look at how this 22 team handled this race, and I think that's what you got to do moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, we had pit stop issues. All three of the teams really had pit stop issues at some point. I can't remember if Chase Elliott did or not, but he had a whole different issue.
Yeah, he did.
But there weren't any issues for the 22 team, really. They just did what they had to do, and like you said, they came in to win this thing. And that is a benefit you get coming in as a veteran driver with a veteran team, that those nerves, what to expect. Those nerves don't get to you. And that's something that Chastain and Christopher Bell didn't have, and I think that showed. And I thought Chastain showed a lot of grace at the end of the race. Obviously disappointed, but really able to reminisce on the fact that he shouldn't have been there. In all intents and purposes, he should not have been in the Final Four. I mean, he made a season out of it and did it because he was a strong driver. But from the beginning if you looked at the cover of the book, Chastain is not a pick for the Final Four. Anything that they did in this race, it wouldn't have mattered. They already overachieved what the expectations were. And there was nothing to bow their head about. And this will not be Ross Chastain's final appearance in the Final Four.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it won't be. It certainly won't be Trackhouse's final appearance. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know yet.
You're still cold on Chastain, huh?
I mean,
you don't think Chastain has made himself a superstar this year?
No,
he's got 2 career wins, James, in one of the toughest seasons to win a race. I mean, I guess everybody won a race, but not everybody won 2.
Yeah, well, Joey Logano's got 2 cups now, so I guess I guess there's that. But I will say, another thing that Joey had said post race was that when they were doing media before this race, he could almost sense it that there were other guys in the room, and I'm sure he's talking about Chastain and Bell here. The other guys in the room who just wanted to be there. Yeah. We're just glad that they finally made it there. And Joey, he didn't think that way. Joey is, and I listened to the teardown, and they brought up this point, so I'm going to steal it for our purposes. But I don't think people give Joey enough credit for the tenacity that he brings behind the wheel of the race car. He is just as fierce as anyone out there, and he's goofy, and he's kind of weird and quirky, right? Yeah. But he is, he was born for this. He was born for these moments. I mean, he's sliced bread. So
right, I agree with you. He's vicious when he's on the track, and I think that has cost him fans too. But he doesn't care.
No. Yep. He races by a certain code, and he follows it to a T, and it's it's gotten him to this point too, Eric, which is a pretty phenomenal thing for him at this stage of his career. He's still young, so young. Yeah, definitely. And now 2-time champion. We go from having 1 multi-time champion in the series this season to now next year we'll have 3. Because somebody's coming back part-time. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah. But 2 full-time multi-time champions. And I think looking at this Final Four in the comment you made about the other drivers just being happy to be there, I mean, I think when you come in after winning a championship, especially where you're at in your career like Joey Logano, I mean, Chase Elliott's still really early in his career. Yes. But Joey, you don't come in as Joey Logano having already won a title into this race for any other reason than to win a title. I mean, what else? Right. You don't have anything else to prove at this point. You've won your championship.
finishing third is nothing. There's no point in being there. So, yeah, I mean, and somebody who's a perennial favorite for a championship as well, you know, that's what you expect if you're Joey Logano coming into the Final Four.
That's right. Right. And, you know, another thing, Eric, that I think, you know, just to speak on the difficulty of these championships in this format, it is such a difficult format.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, I understand kind of to your point. I understand that making the Final Four is kind of the destination for these drivers at this point because it's so difficult to do. The fact that you've got Kyle Busch now and Joey Logano who have been able to get 2 of these titles in this do or die kind of situation, I think just adds to their legacy just a little bit more because of the difficulty that it takes to get there. And you know, these guys come like Joey come in with experience, but it's not a guarantee, you know. One thing here, one thing there, and Ross Chastain's a champion or Christopher Bell's a champion. It's so finicky, it's so finite that you really got to cherish the moment, I think, if you're Joey Logano too.
We've been spoiled through the decades of NASCAR in that there's always been a driver that's got a ton of championships. You know, when Earnhardt was winning his titles, there was Richard Petty still running, and he had 7 championships. When Jimmy Johnson was winning his titles, we, you know, just lost Dale Earnhardt, so we still had that familiarity of Dale Earnhardt with the 7 championships. It's rare, and we've talked about this on this podcast before. It's rare to win more than 1 championship, and just winning 2 puts you in a whole different category, and winning a third is huge. I mean, winning a third is the most you can expect, really. Anything beyond that is just, you know, icing on the cake, really. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look at there as to recognize that Joey Logano was able to do this weekend by getting this championship.
Yeah, and to add to your point, Eric, you know, Joey enters the club now. There's only 17 drivers with multiple championships, and it's a who's who of Hall of Famers. So, you know, that's just to add to your point there. That goes to the rare era that we're going to see Joey Logano in for the rest of his career. Now he's in that club forever.
I'm glad you pulled that number because that wasn't something that I had ready. Didn't think to look it up, and I'm glad you had that because that's interesting. Only 17 guys have won multiple championships. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's all the names, you know. It's all. I mean, these guys are already all in the Hall of Fame. Most of them. You know, Kyle Busch is on that list. He'll be there. Terry Labonte, you know, Joe Weatherly, Buck Baker, and then you've got your Tony Stewarts, your Jeff Gordons, and then, you know, you got the 7-timers. So yeah, it's a tight group. I mean, a lot of guys have gotten one, but only a handful have gotten multiples.
Well, so we've said on here
it's pretty cool to join that club.
We've said on here that 1 championship gets you in the Hall of Fame. 2 definitely.
Exactly.
You know, Joey's going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is number 2 for Paul Wolf too. If you want to talk about that part of it, Paul Wolf's now won with Brad and Joey, basically a decade apart, and he's been one of the greats for a while now. But this puts him in that club as well. One of the great crew chiefs we've ever seen in the sport too. So pretty cool.
That's very cool. We mentioned earlier the contact between Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain. Late race restart. Well, it wasn't that late. It was a third stage restart at least.
Yes, it was.
And Chastain got a little nose underneath Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott came down. However you want to look at it, they collided, and Chase spun into the inside wall and pretty much ended his day, or ended his chance at the championship anyway. James, I don't know about you, but if I'm Ross Chastain, I'm not helping you at that point. I mean, I don't think Chastain wrecked him,
Right.
But Chastain's not going to back off either. I don't think Chastain did anything wrong there. Do you?
Well, here's, you know, Chase Elliott has to be aware of a couple of things. He has to be aware of where he's at on the track and what he's doing, but also who he's racing against, because there's a lot of drivers who'll lift in that situation. Yep. He ain't one of them. Ross Chastain's not lifting. So, you know, I think Chase is the one to take most of the blame here, and Chase isn't going to be talking about this anytime soon, based on the interviews we heard post race. But you have to understand who you're racing around, and Ross Chastain is he's going to Ross. He's not going to stop. So,
well, Chocolate Myers compared
give it to him.
Chocolate Myers compared him to the Intimidator today.
Oh boy.
I mean, well, he said though, you know, when there's certain drivers that when you look in the rearview mirror, he said Dale Earnhardt, when you looked in the rearview mirror and you saw that car in your rear view, you knew what was coming, and you knew. I mean, half the time you wrecked yourself trying to not get wrecked by him. More people. He said more people wrecked themselves than Earnhardt wrecked, and I don't know if I agree with that stat, but Chocolate has a slightly biased view of Dale Earnhardt.
Of course, as he should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, but he's not wrong. I mean, that's the thing is we don't have as many of those drivers in the sport anymore, and I think Chastain's one that could have fit in with the old guard. That look, he got into some people this year. He ruffled some feathers. He pissed some people off, but at the same time, when he got it back, whether you want to say he got it back at Pocono or not with Denny Hamlin, when he got it back, he said, "Yep, I deserved it," and that's so. I don't understand how you could be upset with Ross Chastain for that. And again, like you said, Chase Elliott should have known that one car is behind him. He ain't lifting. First of all, he's racing you for a championship. He's not lifting for that reason alone. Yeah. It's the third stage. It could be the last restart of the race. Nobody's lifting there.
Exactly. Yeah. And nobody took care of Ross in the ways that they said they would. And Ross being Ross got him to this point.
Yeah.
So you got to give Ross a lot of credit for not changing his style, even when it's a fellow championship competitor. He's not going to waver from who he is. And you got to respect the guy for that. He's going to live and die by his code that he's got. And him being him got him to this race, by doing that move at Martinsville. He gave himself this opportunity and he beat Chase Elliott on that restart and got the position, and it's not his to give up at that point. A lot of drivers have held the line, as they say. I mean, heck, Brad Keselowski famously held the line. Lots of guys have done that. So yeah, you can't blame Ross. And if you're Chase, you probably want that one back, because if you just give him the lane, you live to fight another day. Because
and Chase was in the best position he'd been in all day.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Both of these guys had, Ross had this problem from the start of the weekend. He had a fast race car, but he, for lack of a better term, he pooped the bed in qualifying.
Yeah.
And that pretty much zapped his day, because if he could have started up front with Joey, I think they could have probably been a lot closer than even where they were at the finish of this race. I mean, Ross worked his way to that third place finish, but it was a hole he was trying to dig in the entire day.
The only thing that I thought might work out for these guys is that all three of the playoff competitors were in the pack all day and working on their cars in the pack. And when Joey got mired back a little bit on one of those late restarts, I'm like, maybe they haven't been working on their car for dirty air.
Yeah.
But
that's a great point, Eric, because how often have we seen cars dominate two stages of a race, and then strategy comes into play and they fade? Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something else I was kind of worried about after stage 2, because I thought, man, Joey's just used to being up front all day. I don't know how he's going to handle, being through the pack, but he was able to pass cars no matter what. He might not have handled as well as it did early in the race, but he had the speed. I mean, there was just no doubt.
He had enough short run speed to get far enough ahead that the late run speed that he lacked would not show itself. Everybody had to work too hard. There was too much of a gap for them to catch him at the end.
Yep, exactly.
And I think it was a Steve Letarte quote over the weekend, something along the lines of, in every long run, there's a short run. And I love that line. That's a brilliant line, because
it's great. Yeah.
You can have a long run car, and that's great, but you've got to be fast in the short run too to be able to make up that time at the end of the run. And they just didn't have that. That's what Joey had over him.
Yep, exactly. That's a good one too.
Anything else with this race? I mean, this was a pretty straightforward, not really crazy race. We had some pit stop issues with the play or the championship drivers. We had Chase Elliott get turned around, which we haven't seen that a lot since we've gone to this Final Four format. But otherwise, I mean, it was a pretty standard race, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Bowman crashed, which kind of, it was like, whoa, he's back from a head injury and he crashed. Yeah. That was an interesting moment. Then we had a next gen car catch on fire. So theme of the season,
right?
A Ford caught on fire again. Poor Brad Keselowski. And I think also, Eric, we had I think the other big story from this race that I'll remember this race for is the end of an era of Kyle Busch and that 18 team. This was we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it was a somber day for a few reasons, but it was always going to be tough for that 18 car. And I thought Kyle Busch handled himself with really a lot of class on Sunday. And you can tell how much this team really meant to Kyle Busch. We really saw him come out of his shell for a little bit towards, after the race, post race. And it was something I'll always remember. It was kind of similar to, Jimmy Johnson's last race as well. I know Kyle's got a whole career in front of him still. But for 15 years, that 18 car has been a terror in this sport, and it's really the end of a massive era, Eric. That's a long time for Kyle Busch to be driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. I just thought it was a something that I think needs to be mentioned, as one of the moments of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Kyle didn't lead any laps in this race, but still finished in the top 10 with a 7th place finish.
Yeah.
Sweet looking car with the fans' photos on it. That was pretty cool. You mentioned the end of the era with Kyle Busch, but not just that, but the end of an era with Mars Candy as well on a NASCAR Cup Series car. So yeah, pretty big deal for sure. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm glad to see Kyle, finish it out with grace. Now he can go over to that RCR shop and hopefully turn some things around and get himself into a better flow than what was going on there at JGR this year.
Yeah, and go kick some butt for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Another point, Kevin Harvick breaks the single track record for top 10s.
Yeah.
He was in a tie with a few 7 times. So he gets, I think this is what his 19th top 10 in a row at Phoenix.
Something like
with
that.
With his 5th place finish. Those Stewart-Haas cars brought some speed over the weekend because Chase Briscoe was threatening for a little while here too. Led some laps and looked like Chase Briscoe from the spring. So they got to be kicking themselves that they weren't able to advance, because I think they could have maybe had something here. Things work out just a little bit differently.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody else that jumps out at me here. Not really.
Yeah, pretty straightforward race. I mean, when you get to this race, it's always about those championship 4.
Yeah,
and you really there's really not a lot going on outside of that.
No, and TV really focuses on that too, which I guess you can't blame them for.
You have to. You have to.
And I thought it interesting, James, too, that, again, I think that things could have gone differently. Certainly, I think the 12 car could have won this race. But we talked whether this would be the year that we had the champion not win, and the champion won in all 3 series. So.
yeah. I mean, what are you going to do, Eric? I mean, it's so vital, and especially when you've got team cars like that.
I thought Blaney might run, especially when he hasn't won this year. I thought he might go up there and run him for it at the end. The last 5 laps when he knew Chastain wasn't going to get there. But you screw up in that situation too and accidentally clip him, man, you look stupid.
Yeah. Well, and all these teams, are working in a way for the championship 4, which, Rodney Childers was texting Paul Wolfe during the race.
Right.
Helping him with strategy. That's a whole nother team, but Rodney's of course on suspension. So, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I didn't even think that would, but I guess that's that Ford Alliance. So you've got something going on there. I didn't even thought that would be something that, I'm surprised Paul even talked about it, honestly, but it's kind of cool, I guess.
Right.
Rodney's got that experience of winning these championships in this format. So why not reach out to him when you can?
Joey Logano gets the win. It's the 35th annual NASCAR Cup Series championship race, according to this, which I believe is just the 35th annual at Phoenix. It's his 31st victory in 507 NASCAR Cup Series races, his 4th victory and 17th top 10 finish in 2022. 4 victories this year, James. He's so quiet, but 4 victories.
He was.
That's good.
4 victories. Yep. 17 top 10s, 11 top 5s. Pretty standard Joey Logano year.
Yeah.
Walks away with the cup.
His 3rd victory and 16th top 10 finish in 28 races at Phoenix Raceway. Austin Cindric was your highest finishing rookie on the day in 11th. He is also the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Sunoco Rookie of the Year. Chevrolet won the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Manufacturers Championship. That was already sealed before this weekend. Joey Logano
we didn't get the
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sorry to interrupt you. I was gonna say we didn't get the owners' championship mix up.
No,
that
we
I
did
was
not.
Kind of hoping for.
We did not.
Kyle Larson had a good run, but
Yeah, he did.
wasn't ever gonna happen. So
Mentioned
Sorry,
Joey Logano's
continue.
second Cup Series title. 2018 was his first in the Cup Series. So there you go.
yes, sir. Right on.
4 wins, 11 top 5, 17 top 10s for Joey Logano this year.
Pretty darn good year.
Yeah,
Yep.
can't complain. Nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure.
Yep, and I think he had the best average finish of the year for all Cup drivers, if I'm not mistaken.
I do not have that stat.
Ryan Blaney was, I believe, 4th and did not get a win.
That's
this
crazy.
Year. And then what was the other nugget that I had? I can't remember. I had a few good nuggets, but that was one of them. Oh, yes, I remember. I thank you very much for reminding myself. This is the first year. This is another one of those stats. It's just one of those wackadoo stats since the early 70s that a driver has not led 1,000 laps in a season. Chase
Interesting.
Elliott was in the high 800s, but did not lead 1,000 laps. So that's another new one. Goes to show you that parity. All season we had parity.
Yeah, we definitely saw it. We'll be interested to see if it continues next year. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The events of early Sunday morning are going to significantly probably affect the way we discuss this next portion of the show. NASCAR Xfinity Series crowned its champion on Saturday evening. Ty Gibbs holds off Noah Gragson at the end, captures his first championship, denies Noah Gragson his shot at an Xfinity Series championship. I think both you and I were pretty bummed, and then finding the news a little while later, or the following morning, that Ty's dad passed away in the evening, kind of makes you feel really, really happy that Ty Gibbs was able to get that championship and get it for his dad before his dad passed. Just these types of things always suck to talk about, and Coy was a big part of, obviously, Joe Gibbs Racing, and now Joe has lost both of his sons, your heart goes out to the family.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, you can't talk about the championship without talking about the events that followed.
Yeah.
And it's devastating, and it's devastating for a lot of reasons. For Joe, who's now lost 2 sons at the age of 49.
Right.
His legacy, is in shambles with this. But also, we know who Ty Gibbs is and how he's still trying to find himself and has become kind of a pariah.
Yeah.
And he's got this championship because he's a fantastic race car driver. But now he's gotta go it without his dad.
Mm-hmm.
That young man who needs his dad isn't gonna have it. And I know this industry. If we know anything about this industry, Eric, over our years of being fans of the sport and being involved in the ways that we are and we have been, it's that the industry will be there for Ty.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people who will be there for him and the Gibbs family. And I just hope that my hope is that they find, I know they're a very religious family, and I'm glad that they have that to lean on, because that can be a lot of strength for the Gibbs family here, because this is devastating. Yeah. In this way, Coy said some really nice things about Ty after the race, and it's all just heartbreaking. It was shocking and heartbreaking, and Eric, I thought to maybe ask you this question off of this is, I don't know what it is about NASCAR sometimes, and maybe it's just timing. But tragedies in NASCAR seem to hit in these types of really powerful ways. Yeah. And I don't know what that means. But I do know that a lot of strength comes from it. So I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's kind of one of the things that I was trying to, when I was thinking about this, I was trying to maybe piece that together a little bit, but I do know that there's going to be a lot of people there to help.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing is too, we talk about the the relationships that these drivers have with each other and with the teams and all this stuff and how it's different than it used to be and all that. And, Ty Gibbs, certainly not a favorite of pretty much anybody going into this race. And Joe has gotten a lot of criticism this year with the situation with Kyle and just situation with drivers in general. Obviously, the talk with Eric Jones being on the Dale Jr. download and stuff like that. I mean, there's certainly been some negative publicity that's gone their direction and maybe not, not as liked as they could have been throughout the year, and especially ending the season. But that in the end, it's a big family. This traveling circus that goes from week to week throughout the season is a big family, and everybody's going to step in there and be supportive of Ty and Joe and give them what they need. And I guarantee you a lot of the rivalries are dropped at this point, and it's all about getting Ty what he needs going forward versus worrying about the incident at the end of Martinsville and Ty's incidents throughout the season. So in the end, it becomes a bigger thing. And I want to chastise the people on social media that were complete dicks when the news was flowing around as to what it possibly could be. I get it, but these are real people, and I guess it's what you sign up for when you become a superstar like this, or an up and coming superstar. But man, when stuff like that happens to your family, you don't want to deal with that crap, and it's just wrong of people to. I mean, social media is a cesspool. We all know that, but it sucks for sure. But
the whole thing sucks for sure. And I just Ty's got a lot of things coming up, and probably gonna be driving that 18 car next year. And like I said earlier, he's definitely a pariah, but the kid is dominant and won himself a championship, went toe to toe with one of the best drivers in the series. Exactly. Absolutely. And you don't have to like the way he drives, and you don't have to like his personality, but he's a human being who's going through it. So I just hope that everybody is, all the fans can, give him a break for a little bit. Yeah. This is going to be a tough transition for him moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. James and I discussed beforehand how we're going to discuss this and where we're going to talk about it in the show. So wanted to get that out there, get the conversation over it. We're going to talk about the race as a race, and move on from that. Unfortunately, we still have to. I mean, it's what it is. It's sports. So, James, you got here in the notes that this was a great race. Again, I think this was one of those situations where, Ty Gibbs was the guy to beat. He was the best car all day. And some other guys gave him a run, and Noah Gragson and Justin Allgaier certainly gave him a big run. Josh Berry kind of showed his inexperience in this situation, which I don't think was terribly surprising, and nothing against Josh. But this was Ty Gibbs' championship to lose, and he's able to hold off a hard charging Noah Gragson at the end to get this win, and certainly deserves to be the champion all the way around. And bummer for Noah Gragson, bummer for Justin Allgaier, but just a hell of a race that Ty Gibbs drove in this thing.
Yeah, he did. He went toe to toe with these 3J, Junior Motorsports cars, and I really thought Noah, the way they had to work that traffic late, I kind of was thinking Noah was going to be able to maybe get there. I think he ran out of time. I think Noah was coming.
I think a couple more laps he might have made it, but who knows how much of that was Ty just managing his stuff too,
Sure, exactly. Yeah. And if Noah could have given him the bumper, I think we know he would have.
Yeah.
Just great to watch these two, Noah Gragson finishing, 0.3 of a second behind Ty Gibbs in one race isn't going to change my opinion of how great he was this year.
Right.
He doesn't get to lift the cup, but this was a phenomenal year for Noah Gragson. He's got nothing to be ashamed of for what he did. He just lost one race.
Let's be honest, James. Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson are not here to win Xfinity Series championships.
No.
This is a stepping stone to get to the Cup Series, and the fact that Ty got a championship is great. But on the grand scheme of things on his resume, I mean, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has an Xfinity Series championship. Do we even remember that? Hardly ever.
A pair of them.
Right?
There you go.
I mean, so it just doesn't matter much in the grand scheme of things. It matters right now, but it's not going to matter down the road. So that Noah Gragson didn't get the championship, who cares? Go race for a Cup Series,
Exactly. Yeah, he's got bigger fish to fry moving forward in his career. But again, though, championship experience, because I think this is going to come in handy
Yeah.
for all these guys. Allgaier's going to stick around. He'll be a
Yep.
favorite again in the Xfinity Series, but Ty and Noah are gone now.
Yep.
So who's next? Because
We said that when
I know
Briscoe and all those guys left.
Cindric, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those things, man. But yeah, it's tough because you want the championship, but at the end of the big picture, this is all about getting experience, and Noah Gragson had a hell of a year getting experience.
You know who's next?
Go for it, man. Who you got?
Watch that one car. Sam Mayer has got some talent coming.
Yeah, and he's gonna be the number one dog probably next year. So yeah, well, him and Allgaier, I guess.
Yeah.
Allgaier's kind of the elder statesman.
Well,
Barry.
Yeah, Barry's Dale's project. So
That's right. Well, Barry making the championship. I think Barry's one of those guys who's happy to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, making the championship's pretty cool for Josh Berry.
yeah, definitely. Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is. I mean, Josh Berry's in the Ross Chastain situation this year. He probably wasn't supposed to be here, and the fact that he was in this race alone was enough.
Yeah. There's some guys I'm curious about next year. I'm wondering if Brandon Jones can make a leap. I'm wondering about Austin Hill a little bit, because they showed some flashes.
Yeah. Brandon Jones really, when we heard the rumor that he was going to JRM, I thought that was stupid. But he's really, since that rumor started, maybe it's just because I've been paying more attention to him, he's really impressed me.
Yeah, and he's been around for a while now.
Yeah.
I don't think people think about him as kind of an elder statesman, but he's been a full-time Xfinity Series driver since 2016. So, he's got a lot of experience in these cars, and maybe next year's the year, for him to make a leap a little bit.
Yep. Some great battle in this race. Cautions falling at the right time. Good, exciting finish. All around good race, despite the fact that Ty Gibbs led 125 of 200 laps.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a good show. Good showing for the Xfinity Series, and again, congratulations to Ty Gibbs on getting that championship. And more than likely, Steve Letarte was talking about it on the broadcast as if it had been announced that Ty Gibbs will be going to the 18 car next year. So
I think everybody in the industry is, they're aware where he's going.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah. Not going to be surprised when that happens. It's tough because, again, I don't want to be super critical of Ty right now, but maybe another year in the Xfinity Series to learn some of these gaffes. I mean, look what it did for Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson completely changed in this extra season that he ran in the Xfinity Series. So would it hurt Ty Gibbs to run another year? Probably not. But with the number of Cup Series races that he raced this year, I don't think it.
He's got to get more experience in the next gen car. The differences in these cars, it's
exactly.
Noah and Ty had so much seat time this year. You got to love it for both of them.
Yeah.
It's going to be beneficial down the long run. The cars are so different. Ty is not learning anything anymore.
No.
It's that John Hunter Nemechek problem that I've been moping and groping. It always, I guess, drink if you wanted to have James
right.
mention John Hunter, but the seat time in the new car, he's got to go up. There's, he's not doing anything in the Xfinity Series anymore. He's done it all now. Won everything. That's it.
Yeah. Before we move on from the Xfinity Series, I just have to do it one more time, James. Guess who finished 6th?
Hit me.
Sheldon Creed.
There you go. My boy. I was looking at it, but I wanted you to play the button.
Let's see. Ty Gibbs is the champion, 11th victory, 11 victories in 51 NASCAR Xfinity Series races. This kid has only been full-time this year.
Yep.
7th victory and 23rd top 10 finish in 2022.
Yep.
First victory and 3rd top 10 finish in 3 races at Phoenix Raceway. Sheldon Creed. Oh, I didn't have to talk about him. Here he is, Sheldon Creed.
Sheldon Creed
was the highest finishing rookie in this one. Ty Gibbs won the 2022 NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship. I already said that. Chevrolet won the 2022 NASCAR Xfinity Series Manufacturers Championship this year.
There you go.
With that, the Truck Series was in action Friday night. Man, it's nice to have races on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's the way it should be. None of these doubleheader things. As much as I like the doubleheaders at first, I hate them now.
Yeah.
And James, I made a pretty good pick on that whole old Zane Smith kid, huh?
Yeah, you did. You nailed this one. You and I each got one pick right over the weekend.
Yeah.
And you got this one, Zane Smith. I don't know if there was ever any doubt that he was going to win this championship. Although Ben Rhodes gave it a try.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all Zane Smith. I feel like, won the race and just flat out took it to him there towards the end.
Yeah. I mean, this is a race that we had the 4 championship drivers back to back to back throughout parts of this race.
That's right. Yeah.
Until Ty Majeski had trouble late. Again, the winner of the championship wins the race, which is awesome. I always love when that happens. But another decent race here for the Truck Series.
Yeah.
And Zane Smith leads 77 laps, the most laps on the day, as you said. As close as you can get to dominating in this 154 lap race. 77 laps led. John Hunter Nemechek led 44. I believe he was my pick as well, James.
Yes, it
if I
was.
remember correctly. So
Yeah, you won
pretty
this
well
one
on this one.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Which is the theme of the season. I can pick the Truck Series pretty damn well.
Yep.
But you get me on the Cup Series usually.
Yeah. Well, you won the Cup Series and the Truck Series, so there's not really anything I can do.
It's also true.
We'll talk picks later. I don't need any more picks than I need to have in my life. I think I'm good.
Haley Deegan finishes off her season roughly with a 31st place finish after an accident late in this one. Trying to think who else is worth mentioning here. I don't know. That's probably about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, congrats to Zane Smith.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I was kind of hoping the other Smith would get this one, but gave it a good effort.
Yeah.
But just didn't quite have it.
I would say this was the least runaway of the runaways this weekend, but all 3 races were pretty convincing victories for the champions. So
yep, no doubt, no drama.
It was really actually very nice to not have drama.
Yeah,
especially as much as we loved what happened at Martinsville with Ross Chastain, it was nice to not have any controversy in the end of this thing.
Yeah.
The closest we got to drama was Chase Elliott spinning, and of course the Coy Gibbs news really put a wrench in everything. But otherwise, pretty traditional race weekend at Phoenix.
The weekend got thrown off kilter at one point, but before that, we had some great racing. I mean, all around, just a great championship weekend. Eric.
Yeah.
Transition for you.
Yeah.
Phoenix again next year. What are your thoughts? Have you seen enough, or would you like to stay at Phoenix? What do you think? I have an idea of what's going to happen, but I want to pick your brain for a minute.
I have an idea what's going to happen too.
Well, maybe we have the same idea.
Probably. I mean, the problem is if we didn't have Homestead as good as Homestead was for so long, I would be very apt to say that, it's all right. We just need to fix the issues with the next gen car, which I think is coming. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, or maybe now. So if we can fix the Cup Series here, the other 2 series race pretty well here. We've seen good races. They're not as good as Homestead, though, is the problem. So
that's right.
I mean, I personally still want to see this race rotate. And I understand with the sponsorship and all that stuff that goes into the planning, I'm sure it's probably not that easy to just have it at a different place every year. But even every couple of years, I mean, I feel like Phoenix has done its thing and now is losing its luster now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel the same as Homestead. It never really has.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest concern here is the Cup Series car, and I think that's going to be addressed in the off season, and I think we'll see a significantly different car or significantly different racing car when we come back here in the spring. But what's your thoughts, James?
Yeah, I'm in agreement that I'd like to see this race rotate, and I think we'll talk about what's going on here in the news, because where I think this race is this championship's gonna end up going.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see a 4 race rotation. And if Phoenix is one of the 4, I don't really have a problem with it. I'm not super thrilled about it either. I kind of don't really have an opinion on Phoenix.
James,
I'd like to see Homestead back in the mix.
If we can run at Martinsville on the last weekend of October, why can't we run at Martinsville the first weekend in November?
Darn tootin'.
I mean, why don't we run the sucker at Martinsville once?
That's right. Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it?
I mean, we ended the season earlier this year than normal. Martinsville would be great.
Yeah, Homestead would be great. again.
Bristol.
Vegas, even Vegas. Yeah, Bristol. Yeah.
Vegas. I always thought Vegas was when we had the banquet in Vegas. I always thought Vegas was going to be the resting spot for this. Because everything ended in Vegas.
I don't love Vegas. So I'm trying to think of like warm places where we could run a championship race. And
right.
One place that I'd be actually kind of thrilled about, but they're not going to move the Southern 500.
Yeah.
But the Darlington would be a lot of fun, I think, for a championship race.
That'd be pretty incredible.
It'd be kind of wild. Yeah. And then we just can't do it on a plate track. We can't.
No.
We just can't. We can't end it at Atlanta or Daytona or any of that.
No, it'd be so much fun, but we still have a little bit of integrity left in the sport.
Yeah, you can't have all 4 championship drivers wreck out in stage 2. You know,
No.
it'd be pretty bad.
That would be pretty rough.
Yeah,
so I guess we could start talking about the news, James. Well, before we do that, because I know you're transitioning to it, but I want to hit this real quick. Zane Smith's 7th victory in 69 Camping World Truck Series starts for him. It was his 4th victory and 19th top 10 finish in 2022. His first win at Phoenix Raceway. Corey Heim was your 2022 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Sunoco Rookie of the Year. And Toyota won the 2022 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Manufacturers Championship. I think that covers it. Corey Heim was also your highest finishing rookie in 7th place in this race.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah, Zane Smith, 7.7 average finish on the year.
Yeah.
19 top 10s in 23 races. Just as about as dominant as you can do it.
Not too shabby, that's for sure.
Not too shabby. That's a heck of a year. Heck of a year.
So back to our transitioning to the news. Auto Club Speedway going to officially reconfigure after the spring race, apparently. Plans are ongoing for that and will be announced in the future. I'm assuming that this is probably your destination for a championship race, James?
This is where I think we're ending up. Yep.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just
I think
outside of LA for the championship.
I think this has been the plan ever since they announced this reconfiguration, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I think they saw the buzz around the Coliseum because I don't think you and I think we both kind of see that the Coliseum's not going to be a forever thing.
No.
So
the
I think
concept might be a long time thing, but the actual Coliseum itself will not.
Yeah.
Be.
So NASCAR, I think, really likes this Los Angeles market for a few things, and I think this is going to be the next evolution of whatever they've got going on out there on the West Coast. Yep.
I agree, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple dates on the schedule once they put the work into this track too. It's hard to say, but I could certainly see a track like, I don't know, Kansas losing a date and having it go to a second Auto Club date.
Could be. Yeah, Auto Club's back.
Yeah.
After losing a date and being super exciting again, and now we're gonna see a whole new Auto Club after one more 2-miler.
I don't know. I'm all for the track they want to build, but I don't know that I'm for losing Auto Club as a result. Give me Chicagoland back at least. If you give me Chicagoland back, I'll be okay.
This is devastating news to Eric.
Yes. I mean, Chicagoland I want back selfishly because I want to go there again, but Auto Club I don't want to lose because it's a damn good race.
Well, if you talk to the mayor of Chicago, you might get your wish because seems to be a lot of problems with that whole street race thing. So
yeah, good luck.
We'll see.
Or if we could just get Michigan to race like Chicago, California, then we'd be good
that'd be
too.
great. Yeah,
But
maybe if we could weather the track 15 years,
right?
That'd be great. Yep,
it's getting there. It's starting to get there. They just did such a good job on that asphalt at Michigan.
We need an absolute terrorizing winter, which we hate here in Michigan.
Yeah, well, there's rumors are it's coming this year, so we'll see.
Great.
Yeah, it's funny because Michigan, when they repaved it, they just did it at the wrong time, James. It was like right in between, let's pave tracks really good, and we have the technology to pave them really, really well, and the technology to weather a track as you're paving it so that it races good off the bat. It's just right if they would have repaved it like 5 years later, golden.
Yep.
But anyway, kind of also piggybacking off of our talk from Phoenix, aero packages for road course and short tracks expected to see modifications in 2023. Not surprising there at all.
Nope.
I think we all kind of knew that was coming. I mean, props to NASCAR for not changing in the middle of the season when supply chain issues and all that stuff were a thing. I'm all right with with that. So
yep, me too. Absolutely.
Sorry, you're distracting me because you're fixing.
I know you don't
formatting
like
the
you don't
notes.
like when I mess with the notes while you're doing your thing, do you?
No.
Yeah. I had to add something. I forgot.
Yeah, I see that. I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good ad.
Yeah, I probably should mention that, huh?
Yeah, probably. Just like the news I'm going to put here that James missed in the
fixed,
original notes. Yeah. Just we got some new team owner came into the sport, James. Some Jimmy Johnson, I think is his name.
An IndyCar driver.
Yeah, an IndyCar driver is going to own a Cup Series team. Yeah, I mean, we only have 2 living 7-time champions, so why not have them partial owners of the same team, right?
Darn right. Yeah, he better show up in a cowboy hat. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. So yeah, if you've been living under a rock, Jimmy Johnson is going to be partial owner of Petty GMS. Did they announce a team name change? I don't think they did, right?
No team name change, no number. This came together in a quick hurry.
Yeah.
Did you hear Spencer Gallagher's story on how it happened?
No, I didn't, but I did hear Jimmy say that he basically hadn't met Maury Gallagher yet.
Yeah. So Spencer still lives with mom and dad
in
Las Vegas, and he said dad came into the living room and said, "Hey, you got to get ready. Jimmy Johnson's coming over for lunch." And Spencer Gallagher's like, "Huh? Jimmy Johnson? The Jimmy Johnson?" So the Gallaghers and Jimmy Johnson had lunch in Las Vegas, and there you go. Petty GMS has a Jimmy Johnson drive it coming back. Eric, so Jordan Bianchi, Mr. Newsbreaker.
Yes.
He's our Adrian Wojnarowski or Adam Schefter. He Jordan bombed us early in the week saying, "Hey, this is coming."
Yep.
And I got all sorts of excited because the goat, he's coming back to hopefully get a couple of dubs.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he liked the way things ended with that 48 car. So I know he's kind of doing whatever the heck he wants, but this is fun. We're gonna have Jimmy Johnson at the Daytona 500.
Yeah, Daytona 500. I know there was talk of him running the All-Star race, and
He'll be there. Yeah.
It's been an unspecified number of races for next season. We just know it's not full time.
Yeah, I just wonder if he's just going to do what he wants. He's just going to show up and race whenever he wants.
Kind
of cool.
I have a proposal for a number.
How many, Eric?
No, a number for the car.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know a number I think it's going to be.
84, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Why not?
84 would be good.
Yeah.
I think he'll run the 44 probably, but 84 is not bad.
The 44 seems to be the one there that the rumor is that it'll be 44, which makes sense.
He did run the 5 at one time. He ran the 5. Also, in the Xfinity Series, I guess if he wants to go way back, he could run the 92?
Yeah,
right?
92.
He ran the 92.
Yeah.
Another Jimmy Johnson number. It's gonna be weird seeing him in a car not the 48, though. That's gonna be strange.
It will be.
Nonetheless, I can't wait to see him back.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see Jimmy back in the sport. I know he was off doing things that he wanted to do and doing the IndyCar thing and going all in on that.
Yeah.
But to lose the 7-time champion completely from the sport was kind of jarring.
Yeah.
And I think I'm excited to see him have his face back in the sport again. So.
Yeah, he kind of comes and goes as he pleases. This definitely seems like it's out of nowhere, which it is. We didn't see this coming. But Brad Keselowski had a plan. Denny Hamlin had a plan. I don't know if Jimmy has a plan. I think Jimmy's just trying to have fun.
Right.
Which is fine. Jimmy can do whatever the heck he wants.
I'm just surprised. When Ganassi sold his team, it kind of that cup opportunity dried up for him, so he had to buy a team to get a ride, right?
Yeah.
See, another one of these guys buying a ride, James. What the hell?
I know, right? I know. Just buying his way in. But I did see that. Was it Junior Motorsports might be able to run him in the? No. Well, it's our next news item. I guess that's the transition. Kyle Busch said that Jimmy Johnson is open to racing some Truck Series races because I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, KBM's moving to Chevrolet next season.
No, what a surprise.
Right. Yeah, I know, what a shock.
Yeah. So it's a 2-truck deal. Chase Purdy in the 4, and Jack Wood will split the 51 with Mr. Kyle Busch and maybe Jimmy Johnson, I guess. I don't know.
Nick Sanchez is going to be running a highly affiliated truck as well.
Yes, the 2 truck.
Yep. So.
Yep. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Again, not a surprise that KBM was going to Chevy. We kind of knew that was coming, but interesting to hear the driver lineup. That was still up in the air, kind of. So.
Yep.
I think we said again, or we've mentioned before, that the odd woman out in this whole situation is Hailie Deegan with all the changes that are being made. I highly expect her to have an Xfinity ride next season.
Maybe in a 07 car. Perhaps?
Yeah, I feel maybe a 07 car or maybe a Stewart Haas. Well, either way, I think it's going to be a Stewart Haas car, whether it's it actually from their shop, like working out of their shop, or built at their shop and sent on.
Yep.
I highly expect her to be in a Stewart Haas car next season in the Xfinity Series. So,
Yep.
yeah. So, a lot of stuff's it's the end of the season, so a lot of stuff's coming together. We're starting to see where those things are going to fall. Still waiting to see like Joe Gibbs Racing lineup for the Xfinity Series next year.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So,
yeah, drivers on the move. Chandler Smith and John Hunter Nemechek, all those guys are going to be, going around here. So,
yep.
All in the Toyota camp. The Toyota camp's kind of up in arms right now. So,
yep.
We'll see how it all plays out.
Yes, we will. Anything else in the news, James?
I think we're good, buddy. I went and did a check, and I already messed with your notes enough, so I'm not going to mess with them anymore.
There you go. I will do a little victory lap here for the Picks Championship this season. Second championship in a row for me.
That's right.
In the picks.
Yep.
A little bit better than last year. Last year it was double digits. This year it's triples. I got 122 points over you with the final. So, but
Yeah.
it was a good effort, good run all along.
I kept it close until 5 weeks to go, and then it all fell apart. So
Yeah, I mean, I helped you by having 2 disqualifications in a row.
that was yeah.
So, I mean,
good.
without
I
those,
was dominating the early part of the season, and then you just chipped away.
without those DQs, man, I would have smoked you.
Well, yeah, it did. It got
We'd have been
ugly
done
again.
before the playoffs started.
Oh, I got to give you credit though. You didn't cheat to win this one.
No,
like you
I did not
last
cheat
year.
this year. Well, I did try to cheat because I did pick a driver that was ineligible at one point,
Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
changed mid-season, or
Yeah,
midweek.
you did. Yep.
I probably, looking back on that, I probably should have not gotten to do that. I should have had to stick with it.
Well, did it matter at the end? No.
No,
So-
because didn't he wreck out in that same race?
Yeah, it didn't matter anyway. Yeah, it didn't matter. You could have won the race or finished last, and I could have won. It wouldn't have mattered. I lost by too many points. So
Yeah, so there we go. But and we're gonna do this again next year. But James and I have discussed some changes. I think what we'll do, James, is, and we'll discuss it more as we lead into it. But I'm leaning towards Xfinity and Truck just doing like we normally do, but we'll do the limit on the Cup Series where you have to pick. You can't pick the same driver twice during the regular season or the
that'd be fine.
playoffs.
yeah,
So
it'd be interesting way to do it.
there's too few drivers to pick from in the Xfinity and the Truck Series to do that. But for the Cup Series, I think it makes it more fun because it's so easy. I mean, not like I guess if I look down here, there's a lot of William Byrons in your column, and we get to the end of the season, we're all picking from the same pool of like 5 drivers.
you
so.
definitely went through a rally where you were high on Ty Gibbs, and man, you
Yeah.
kicked my butt every time, and every time you pick Kyle Larson, for whatever reason, you score 60 or 70 points.
Yeah, and every time you picked him, he'd be terrible.
I know. I don't get it.
I did it. There was a 13-point Kyle Larson here for me back at Phoenix 1, though. So
I couldn't even look at the sheet after. I was like,
actually, the first couple times we picked Kyle Larson, it went bad for both of us.
yeah, he had a weird season.
Bristol
Just a
Dirt,
weird
I got 48 points with him. So
Well, yeah, he had a good day that day. Yep.
anyway, so yeah, and then from me winning the championship in this thing that nobody cares about because it's just the two of us. Somebody else on our show got the championship in the league this year. James, you finally brought her home.
I got the fist pump going, Eric. Did it. I finally did it, and it was not pretty. It got ugly at the end, but we got the fantasy league championship. Oh, what a sigh of relief! I never have to win it again.
I know.
It's been done. It's done.
So does that mean I don't have to come up with a prize, or do I have to give you some sort of prize now?
You should give. Yeah, I should get to come on the podcast.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll
No,
tell you what, I will bring you back next year because you won the championship, James.
Sounds good. I did talk to Green Eggs and Hamlin gave it one heck of a run, and he actually kicked everybody's butt in the Phoenix race because he was going for it and dominated, beat Tandem Draftona, and our previous multi-champion Ranger Runyon was third this week. But the playoff. The overall championship standings, Eric, I ended up only winning by 32 points the entire season. He nickel and dimed me all the way through the playoffs.
That's funny.
So made it a battle. But I did tell him, I texted him yesterday and said, you technically are the first of the non Eric and James division, so you can come on. You can come on the show. And he did get the playoff.
Yeah, he won the playoffs by a nice margin here.
Yeah, he came on strong, man. He he gave me a run for my money.
Man, you were terrible in the playoffs.
Yeah, I wasn't great. I mean,
you were better than me, but that doesn't mean anything.
I racked up a bunch of 5th place finishes throughout the playoffs, but it was just enough. I kind of made a strategy play over the weekend. I was once I saw his roster, and our lines were fairly close. I kind of was watching to see before the end of stage 2 what he was going to do, and he actually kept Blaney in the lineup, so I kept Blaney in the lineup. But my mistake was I kept Chase in, and he benched Chase, and that was a huge difference. And at one point, he did text me that it was a 4-point difference. But so I almost choked it away. I was joking about it with you that I was going to end up choking this whole thing away. So it almost happened. But.
Well, I made myself real comfortable back here in 8th, 9th place. I finished 9th at Phoenix. I finished 8th overall and 8th in the playoffs. So, yeah, nice and comfortable back here in 8th, 9th place.
Oh, man. I'm just glad that I've got one. I only ever wanted one. Yeah. And I got a nice message from our friend Ranger. Who I
saw that. He gave the concession speech.
He did. He handed off the Champions Journal, which I look forward to reading. Todd's in there as well. He's got a couple of entries. But, yeah, it was oh, man. I hate this league so much. Yeah. But
Me too. And we were there.
I feel like Chase Elliott. I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad that there's an off season.
Yeah, there was joking on Twitter on whether we'll do it again, but I stand by if people are willing to sign up for it, I will do it again. This year was a fun year, despite the fact that I sucked as badly as I did. Record number of participants in it, which is pretty awesome. Hopefully we can even beef that up more next year. We're looking forward to it. So we lost a couple stragglers along the way, but still 10 strong at the end. It's pretty cool. So
Yep. So we'll keep it again, and like I said, I will give it a valiant effort to defend my title, but I won't have to ever worry about that ever again. So,
James challenges everybody to next year. He is going to win the championship again. He told me he's just being modest right now. He is challenging everybody, and if somebody beats him, he will give up his most prized Tony Stewart diecast to the winner. No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that to you.
It's an interesting result.
Right?
Sure. Okay.
He was talking some smack. He said nobody can touch him. He was kind of a dick about it, but you'd expect that.
When Green Eggs and Hamlin comes on the show, I'm sure he'll talk about all the trash. I was actually talking. I told him I was going Tony Stewart mode on him.
Nice.
Trash talking him, and it almost bit me in the butt. So
thank
goodness I had 76 points of buffer going into the championship race. I'd been in big time trouble. So
good stuff.
Good enough. Fantasy League is over.
Fantasy League is over. I don't have to worry about making those picks on Sunday.
Oh,
God, I forget every week and then do it at the last minute and scramble. Maybe if I actually put some time into it and did it in advance, I would actually do well.
Yeah.
I tried different strategies this year. I tried going on Racing Reference and using their
it was a weird year,
system there. I tried listening to the fantasy show on Sirius XM Sunday morning and using their picks. Just nothing worked for me, man.
Yeah, it was a weird season, just super weird all the way around.
Yeah, it was a mess. James, you got any shout outs this week?
Usually this episode every year I shout out, first I want to shout out you, Eric. You get my shout out this week because you do a lot.
Are you going to shout out your wife again and make me look bad before
I'm going to shout out both of our wives, honestly, but I'm going to shout out you first. I want to give you first dibs. You do a lot to make this thing happen. And Eric, we're finishing up, year number 6, right? We started in 2017. So this is our 6th season. So it's just really cool that we get to do this, and I appreciate all the work that you do, and having me do this with you is still a lot of fun after all this time. So I appreciate everything you do, and thanks for doing it. So you get my first shout out, and then
I got a little tear in my eye.
Oh, I know, sorry. And then just to our lovely wives who put up with us and all this crap. So they get to let us go and have fun, and I always appreciate that. I know my wife puts up with a lot. As I'm, minutes before we air this episode today, I was yelling at her about Wi-Fi. And she takes the kids on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, whatever. So I appreciate that very much. So they get the shout outs this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Definitely shout out your wife for letting me steal you for, a little bit of the week, part of the week every week. Big shout out to my wife for putting up with trying to watch the race multiple times throughout the weekend. watching the race on my phone when we're at family events.
Yep, that happens.
Yelling, hitting the mute button during the podcast and shouting out the door for everybody to shut up because they're too loud. The missing her having to go to hockey practice with the boys and dealing with practices so that I can record on a night and we don't have to record at 9:00 at night, all that stuff. So
yes,
missing me at dinner or whatnot because I'm sitting here in the office doing this podcast. They, like you said, they put up with a lot, James.
Yep.
So, and
They
yeah,
definitely do.
and shout out to the listeners as well too. We joke that there's not many of you, but there's more of you than I expected there to be. And we just love doing this. I mean, James and I do this because we like talking about NASCAR, and we figured, hey, maybe we'll bring some other people into it and let them enjoy our conversations too. We've told the story before. This all started with a 6-hour-long drive down to Eldora Speedway. And listening to Jeff Gluck's podcast and realizing that if he can do it, we can do it. I mean,
no offense, Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly, no offense, like you said, no offense to Jeff, but just realizing that what his podcast was is just somebody talking about NASCAR, a couple of people talking about NASCAR.
Yeah.
We realized that maybe, hey, we like listening to it. Maybe somebody else will too. So,
yeah.
Very cool to have people following along and joining us, playing in the fantasy league. All that stuff. It's a pleasure, and hopefully you guys continue along. We'll take a break here for a couple weeks. A lot of times we'll do maybe one of these before the holidays hit, and then we'll pick back up after the holidays. But we'll be around. And you can hit us up on Twitter as long as Twitter still exists.
Yeah.
and whatnot. We got the Facebook page, so reach out to us on there, and we'll chat with you. But definitely have to give some time back to the families as well. James, you got any black flags this week?
Yeah, Steve Letart's appendix.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
He gets the black flag.
What bad timing.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. Poor guy. Getting ready to call the championship weekend race, and his appendix just said, nope, not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to have fun this weekend.
What a bummer.
Yeah, it was.
I don't really have one. I'll again throw the big black flag at anybody being a jackass about Ty Gibbs on Twitter.
There's no need for that.
When we know it's a family emergency, all you need to know is family emergency, guys. That's enough. Obviously, it's bad enough to pull him out of the car. So just keep your mouth shut until you know what's going on. So, unfortunately, like I said, some people can't separate reality from fantasy, and I guess we have to deal with that with the sport, unfortunately. But big black flag to those folks. So
yep.
Until Elon runs Twitter into the ground, James, where can people find you on social media?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old episodes of the podcast, show notes, links to articles we discussed, past race coverage, photos, and more. The podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Where we found us today, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen. Like I said, normally new episodes each week, but we're going to take a break for a couple here for the off season. We'll be back. If any big news breaks, we'll pop on and do a quick episode. Otherwise, you'll certainly hear from us maybe once before the holidays and back at it before the season kicks back off, before we know it at the LA Coliseum once again. Anything you want to say to the folks, James, before we head on out of here?
No, man. Just I appreciate those who. I mean, if you're listening to this for an entire season, you're basically listening to a works week and then some,
right?
Of us continuously. So
yeah,
I just appreciate that. So I just wanted to shout everybody out one more time.
Yep, definitely agree. Like I said, we'll be back around the holidays, before the holidays, after the holidays, whenever the hell we feel like it. We'll certainly be back for the beginning of the next season. Until then, everybody, let's go racing. I apologize for anybody's ears that I blew out with that. That was a little loud. Sorry.
It was good on my end. It didn't come out. It didn't come out super loud.
Oh, it was red. It was in the red here.